Now, I'm going to warn you up front, I am about to scream, I am about to rage, because this list, it pisses me off. This is your warning, and this is your disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. Bro, I'm telling you, there's no way the people who made this list actually believe it. If you like seeing Matt, which is me by the way, go on rants and tangents, you might enjoy this video. Now let me make this clear, like anytime I go on a rant and tangent, I really don't want to. It's not good for my health, I don't want to scream, but there is just some things in this life that piss me off to the max. And one of those things that pissed me off are terrible lists when it comes to college football. In the past couple of weeks, it seems like we've looked at so many top 25 lists for the college football season from so many different websites and sources and blah, 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 blah. Everybody's got their own opinion, which is totally 100% fine, but when you've got verified and legit sources like ESPN, who's supposed to have the best of the best in the business, putting Florida State and Penn State and Washington ahead of Alabama, that's when I get mad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, recently one of the lists we looked at, they had Alabama ranked like 8th or 9th in the country, and we all know that's just a terrible take. I don't care if I'm back there playing quarterback for Alabama, they're still a top 5 team in the country. But ladies and gentlemen, do not fear, do not worry, we're not here to talk about that. The main topic of today's video is ESPN came out with their top 10 college football quarterbacks list from the 2000s, or my bad, since the 2000s. I'm going to repeat that again. It is the best 10 college football quarterbacks since the year 2000, so the past 23 years. A lot of great quarterbacks to choose from, but somehow, someway, ESPN screwed this up big time. You may disagree with a ton of things I say, vice versa. I may also disagree with a ton of things you guys say, but that's the great part about our channel. We got a lot of different perspectives. However, I think we can all come to the terms and agreement this list is horrible and it's trash. Okay, I'm getting a little too amped up and too far ahead of myself. I need to calm down. We're going to take a look at this top 10 quarterback list, but also we're going to take a look at On3's post-top 25 spring rankings. We've taken a look at a ton of different spring rankings, so I don't want to talk about it too long, but I do want to bring it up. I'm excited to get into this one. Hope you guys are excited as well. All right, Matt, blah, 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 shut crap up. No, without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, righty, let's get this topic out of the way first. We're going to take a look at these rankings. And by the way, shout out to Kelby Mac. This dude is always tagging me and stuff nonstop on Twitter. I really appreciate it, man, because it helps me out. I mean, this guy's on it. He's tagging me and stuff and left and right. And a bunch of you guys are always tagging me and stuff. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, getting back on track here. The reason I'm showing you this top 25 list, or I'm about to show you, is because it's not really that bad compared to some other ones we looked at. I'm just going to show you the entire top 25 right here, and you can take a look at it for yourself. My biggest complaint with the previous other lists we've looked at is they've had USC, Florida State, Penn State ahead of Alabama. And I've told you guys, I don't care what Alabama's quarterback situation looks like. You can't put them behind Florida State and Penn State and USC. No way. But this list right here, even though I disagree with Alabama being behind LSU and Ohio State, the top 5 isn't bad. I can work with this. It doesn't get me too upset. And the 1 and 2 is exactly how I would have it. I have Georgia number 1 and Michigan number 2. So the top 5, A-okay. I'm cool with it. 6 through 10, I'm also cool with it. Texas is a little too high for my liking. The only thing I would change with this top 10 is I would switch Texas and Tennessee. Texas doesn't need all that hype just quite yet. Put them around 12, 15, something like that. And Tennessee, I don't understand the disrespect they're getting, but they're a top 10 team. They got Clemson at 11. That's perfect. They also got Notre Dame at 13. That's perfect. Y'all know my golden rule. Notre Dame should be banned from being inside the top 10. If you want to put them at 11, that's cool, but they can't go in the top 10. And everything else, as you can see right here, it's pretty solid. You know what? Now that I think about it, let me know in the comment section, should I make my own top 25 list post-spring? I think I need to do that. Why haven't I done that? Why are we sitting up here looking at everybody else's list when we all know I need to make my list? We need to do that in one of the up-and-coming videos. As far as it goes for this list, I think it's okay. Don't have a problem with it. Would I like to see Alabama a little bit higher? Yeah, but you throw them in the top 5, I'm cool with it. I do want to throw this in there too. I'm also not on the Wisconsin hype train. I don't understand why they're in the top 25, but it is what it is. I guess people are just trying to base that fact off Luke Fickell's going to turn the program around. That's the only thing I can assume. I would love to sit up here and talk about that some more, but we're gonna move on to the main topic, the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video, and we gotta take a look at this list. Since the year of 2000, there's been a lot of great quarterbacks to play at the college level, too many to sit up here and name off. But when it comes to the best of the best, the top 10, who comes to your mind? Immediately when I think of some of the best quarterbacks over the past 20-something years, I think of Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, Johnny Manziel, and Tim Tebow. Those are the four that quickly come to my mind. There's a couple others, but those are the four that stick with me. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, Vince Young, he popped into my mind, and Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Deshaun Watson has one of the most underrated college careers of all time. That dude was unstoppable. Like I stated in the intro though, ESPN came out with their new top 10 list for college quarterbacks, and let's check it out. Starting it out hot with number 10. Man, oh man, this guy was electric. We got Robert Griffin III. I think 10 is a fairly good spot. This dude was nothing short of sensational. I'm kind of curious, what were his stats at Baylor? It's been forever ago. In that remarkable Heisman winning season, he had over 4,200 passing yards, completed 72.4% of his passes. I didn't even know it was that high. Also had 37 touchdowns to only 6 INTs. Not too bad. And oh yeah, also got to throw in there, he had 700 rushing yards with 10 touchdowns. Not bad, not bad. That's a good way to start on this list. But take a look at number 9, Marcus Mariota. I'm kind of curious. This is like a throwback for me. I say we take a look at all these guys' stats. In his Heisman winning season, he threw for over 4,400 passing yards, completed 68% of his passes, had 42 touchdowns to only 4 INTs. He definitely put up some solid numbers, but is he really a top 10 quarterback? I don't know. Let's get a move on. I'll give you my complete summary on these guys when we get done with this list. At number 8, we get the Louisville quarterback, Lamar Jackson. He won the Heisman in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, not 2017. His numbers are probably the least impressive out of everybody's. Only completed 56% of his passes. That's more than likely going to be worse on his list. Had 3,500 passing yards, 30 touchdowns to 9 INTs. I know what you're sitting there saying, yo Matt, those passing numbers are not too great, but here's a part of it that made up for it. On the ground rushing, he had over 1,500 rushing yards with 21 touchdowns. Unreal. This guy was special. Maybe arguably one of the most underrated players on this list. After good old Lamar Jackson, at number 7 on our list, we got Kyler Murray from Oklahoma. Interesting. I'm not too sure about this one. He only had 1 year at Oklahoma in which he started, and in that year, he won the Heisman Trophy. Completed about 69% of his passes, had over 4,000 passing yards with 42 touchdowns to 7 INTs. On the ground as well, he surpassed 1,000 rushing yards and had 12 touchdowns. Ahead of Kyler Murray at number 6, we got good old Deshaun Watson. I'm actually pretty excited to pull up his stats because I know he stuffed the stat sheet. Dang, I didn't know he had 17 He had 17, holy crap, interceptions in his last year at Clemson. I can't even believe that, but you see his numbers right here in both of his final 2 years. I don't care about the interceptions. Anytime and every time I think about Deshaun Watson at Clemson, I just remember him dicing up Alabama in back-to-back seasons. When you look at his numbers, though, they're not necessarily impressive. Going on up here to the top 5, here's where my problems start to arise. 10 through 6, I'm cool with. 5 through 1, I'm not cool with. At number 5 on this list, I got good old Joe Burrow, which is way too low. He played 2 years at LSU, but I'm going to show you his last and final year. It is so... Looking at these numbers, I don't even know how he did this. He had nearly 6,000 passing yards, 5,600, and he completed over 76% of his passes. I don't know if a quarterback's ever going to come close to doing that in the SEC ever again. He also had 60 touchdowns to only 6 INTs. Pound for pound, year for year, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback on this list, and there's no debate. Joe Burrow in 2019 was something we'll probably never see again. And it wasn't too long ago. I remember watching him play. I would actually be shocked if he threw an incompletion. Outside of Mac Jones in 2020, I've never seen a quarterback be that accurate with the ball on every single pass, from short passes to medium passes to long passes. It was special to see, and I'm glad I got to witness it, but also I'm going to pull up Mac Jones' numbers because a lot of people don't give him enough recognition. You see it right here in 2020, he pretty much did the same thing Joe Burrow did, but nobody wants to give him credit. When it comes to 2 of the most accurate passers I've ever seen, it's Joe Burrow and Mac Jones. End of list. Mac Jones actually won up Joe Burrow and completed over 77% of his passes. I'm not saying Mac Jones deserves to be on this list, but he's definitely underrated. Nobody gave him enough credit. Going on up our list here at number 4, we got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow could play, man. He could play. Wasn't the greatest passer of all time, but he had that will to win. And that's what I love about him the most. And arguably, when you're talking about a career at the college level, he might be the greatest of all time. Because I'll show you his numbers right here. It's not just one season, but 3 seasons where he had really good years. Dude's a beast, man. Dude is a beast. Ahead of Tim Tebow at number 3, they got Vince Young. Can't go wrong with putting Vince Young on your top 10 list. He completed about 65% of his passes, had 3,000 yards with 26 touchdowns to 10 INTs. Not the greatest stat line ever, but he also had 1,000 yards rushing in both seasons. And number 2 on our list, come on now, you knew he was going to be here. We got Cam Newton. Man, oh man, Cam Newton, that was a bad man. Gosh, man, when I think of Cam Newton, I just think of an athletic freak, an athletic specimen, a guy who could run over anybody and everybody in his way. The thing about Cam Newton that made him so lethal is he was about 6'5", and he always fell forward. I mean, dang, you hike the ball, you're 6'5", and you fall forward, that's a 3-yard gain. The dude couldn't be stopped. He single-handedly carried I'm not going to say a mediocre, but a slightly above mediocre Auburn team to a national championship. In 2010, that 1 year he played at Auburn, he completed 66% of his passes, had 2,800 passing yards with 30 touchdowns to only 7 INTs. But on the ground, he had 1,473 rushing yards with 20 touchdowns. I'm not going to sit up here and rave on Cam Newton. You should know how special he was. And last but not least on our list, arguably the main reason I'm making this video, guess who it is? Baker Mayfield. Yes, that is right. You heard me correctly. This isn't a misprint. Baker Mayfield is the greatest college quarterback since the year 2000. Yeah, let's just say I'm going to address that in just a second. Let's take a look at his numbers. Obviously, he won the Heisman, and you can take a look at his numbers for yourself. He had 3 good years at Oklahoma. He always completed about 70% of his passes, threw for nearly 4,000 yards, averaged out to be around 40 touchdowns to only about 7 interceptions every single year. It was a carbon copy paste. Somebody said Mayfield couldn't wear Joe Burrow's jockstrap, and everyone with 2 eyes outside of Oklahoma knows it. Now, whoa, hold on. I know what everybody's going to say. Well, Matt, when you look at it at an entirety, Baker Mayfield arguably had the greatest career. Yes, you're right. When you look at a career, you could argue Baker Mayfield should be number 1, but that's not what this list says. This list says top 10 college football quarterbacks since 2000. It doesn't say top 10 college quarterback careers since 2000. So, when I think of top 10 college quarterbacks since 2000, I do not think of Baker Mayfield. I think of Cam Newton. I think of Tim Tebow. I think of Joe Burrow. I think of Johnny Manziel. And heck, you know what I'm thinking? Here's my problem with this list. Kyler Murray at 7. Well, to me, I think Bryce Young's better than Kyler Murray. I think Bryce Young in that Heisman season at Alabama had a better year than Kyler Murray. And I know Bryce Young just got out of college, so people are going to be hesitant to put him on this list, but I think he deserves to be on this list over Robert Griffin III, Marcus Mariota, and Kyler Murray. That is just me, though, because Bryce Young was, and he is that special. Bryce Young beat the greatest Georgia defense, arguably one of the greatest defenses of all time, with Jamison Williams. He blew him out 41-24. I mean, he was unreal. As a matter of fact, since we're pulling up numbers, let's pull up Bryce's stats. The dude was a monster. In 2021, the Heisman year, completed 67% of his passes, had nearly 5,000 passing yards with 47 touchdowns to 7 INTs. And last year's numbers declined, but remember, he didn't play a couple of games, and I'd argue and say last year he was better than he was in 2021. Now, I'm going to warn you up front, I am about to scream, I am about to rage, because this list, it pisses me off. This is your warning, and this is your disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. So you mean to tell me, out of all these guys on this list, if you had to pick one guy, the top guy, you're picking Baker Mayfield? And here's the saddest part about this. It wasn't one guy who made this list. ESPN made this list. So it was a formulation of like 15 to 20 nerds sitting in one room. And they somehow came to the agreement, oh yeah, I'd definitely take Baker Mayfield over Vince Young, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, and Marcus Mariota, and Robert Griffin III. Bro, I'm telling you, there's no way the people who made this list actually believe it. I firmly believe they made this list just to piss me off. I do. I'm not going to sit up here and take guys out of this top 10 and put in new guys. I'm just going to regrade it as to how I would do it. And number 1, I'm going to go Cam Newton. That dude was a monster. I've never seen anything like it. Still haven't seen anything like it, where a guy can pass that efficiently and also run over people like Derrick Henry. I got Cam Newton. Number 2, I got Joe Burrow. That one's easy. Now, if Mac Jones was on this list, I think him and Joe Burrow are a coin flip. Nobody's really going to like that. Some people are going to think I'm delusional, but look at the stats. Watch Mac Jones play. He was similar to Joe Burrow. Would I take Mac Jones over Joe Burrow? No, I'm not an idiot, but I don't think he's too far behind. Before this list, right now, I got Cam Newton 1, Joe Burrow 2. At number 3 on my list, I got Deshaun Watson. When it came to being clutch, Deshaun Watson, he always arose to the occasion. That's what I love the most. At number 4 on my list, I want to keep him where he's at. I got Tim Tebow. Love me some Tim Tebow, outstanding, great leader, and that's what I want in a college quarterback. At number 5 on my list, I'm going to go with Vince Young. Very comfortable with that. He's another version of Cam Newton. At number 6 on my list, this is where Mayfield comes into the conversation. I got Baker. At number 7 right behind him, I'm going to go with another Oklahoma quarterback. I'll take Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray, he stays where he's at on this list, which is fine. At number 8, similar to this list, I got Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson in college wasn't the greatest passer, so that's what holds him back on my personal list. At number 9 and 10, I'm going to flip-flop it. At number 9, I got RG3. Number 10, I'll put Marcus Mariota. That is my top 10, and that's how I think it should be. Overall, for this list, it's decent, but what pisses me off is you got Joe Burrow at 5 behind Tim Tebow. That's just laughable. And number 2, or really this should be number 1, the main point, Mayfield at 1. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? I've already spent way too much time talking about this. This video's already been way too long. Let me know your thoughts down below. But, Billy!